Our main event, our championship fight. How do you like that? Snake is loose tonight. Ricky Thomas and James Toney. And Toney, as we said, is a guy who at one time we were a little bit critical of. He has improved, and he has improved greatly to the point that he's one of the premier acts in boxing.
Back in early 1991, James Toney looked like a promising middleweight who was being given a title shot he had only a small chance of winning. But when he faced the seemingly invincible Michael Nunn, he showed that looks can be very deceiving.
Nunn landing here in the third round. Nunn looks very focused. He looks sharp tonight. Down. That's it. How can he stop it? That's it. The fight's over. James Toney wins the title.
At first, what happened, me and Mike, we had to went through a whole big barrage before the fight. And my game plan was to go out there and box and, just take my time, take my body shots, and slow him down. I lost my head and tried to go for the big knockout punch, And I thought I lost the first 6 rounds, but after that, I started slowing him down with the body shots, and I caught up with him, and boom, there he is, he's out.
After that surprise win, equally surprising was his busy and his exciting reign as champ. Twice he had wars with ex-champ Mike McCallum, won a draw, and this one, a 12-round win. 7 title defenses against opponents that included future champ Reggie Johnson. They were mixed in with non-title bouts, like this win over Doug DeWitt. He fought often, and most times against opponents that weren't easy. But then again, it was all part of the Toney philosophy to make him a great champion.
My goal, in order to be the best, you got to fight the best. I believe I'm the best, so I'll take on all comers. I don't duck nobody. If somebody out there say he's the best fighter out there, pound for pound, let me fight him. Let's see.
I just wanted everybody to know him because he didn't come off of an Olympic gold medal. He didn't come off of a very major amateur background. So I had to create something, and I knew how good he was, but I wanted everybody to know that.
They knew him well enough so that he could relinquish his middleweight crown and step up to 168 to take Iran Barkley's IBF belt in a very personal war. He was brilliant in winning. And as this tune-up bout with Governor Chavers shows, he's more comfortable at a higher weight. And as Tom Petty might say, his future is wide open.
I see myself fighting Dan Van Horn first, get him out the way, get him my mandatory. I don't never want to be accused of ducking anybody. So get him out the way, then fight Nigel Benn, fight Roy Jones. That's definitely, I want to fight him, because he ain't but a bunch of hype.
Well, he does not duck anybody, and he makes his way into the ring tonight. He's doing really a lot of what Julio Cesar Chavez did, and that is stay active, stay busy, stay before the public, fight guys in non-title fights, give people an opportunity.
You saw the graphic, 6 defenses of his title in a relatively short period of time.
And he really has come a long way. I mean, this is a bona fide champion. This is not just a guy who has a belt and won it on any kind of a fluke.
No, and of course, at the time when he won the bout from Michael Nunn, he had been losing most of the rounds earlier, which he acknowledged. But once he won that title, and even though he's had so many tough scrapes that we'll talk about as the evening goes on, he's always won. He's got a lot of toughness. And he's starting to show now, and he showed us today. And there's Ricky Thomas, who we talked about, a man that came here not just to show up. James Toney's showing another side to his personality that we'll get into as we go on today. That's very pleasant that not everyone has seen.
You see that loss. He lost down in South Africa. So, Al, let's talk then about the AutoZone keys to victory.
For James Toney, obviously, don't be overconfident, which he isn't. He knows Ricky Thomas can fight. Work the body. It's always a key for him, and he wants to do it early. Now, for Thomas, establish the jab. Very important to out-jab a jabber. When I say shoulder the load, James Toney turns his shoulder to you. What they want Thomas to do, instead of going to his left, they want him to throw the left hook to the body, but stay to his right and nail Toney with the right hand to the head, and we'll be showing you that graphically as the fight goes on.
All right, so what's left in us to get on with it and to tell us all about it, here's Michael Buffer. Mike?
Ladies and gentlemen, Top Rank Incorporated, in association with Fisticuffs Productions, along with the undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser, present the featured bout of the evening. This bout is sanctioned by the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission. Commissioner in attendance, Chuck Bednarik. Executive Secretary, Greg Serb. The three judges scoring the bout, Jackie Castellani, Bill Flasser, and Bill Nealon. Physicians in attendance, Dr. William Newman, Dr. John Consalvo, and Dr. Frank Romaskavich. The timekeeper is Bill Reese. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Fernwood Resort and Country Club here in Bushkill Falls, Pennsylvania, let's get ready to rumble! 10 rounds of boxing in the super middleweight division. The referee for this contest is Frank Cappuccino. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the multicolored trunks with black trim, weighing in at an even 163 pounds. He's from Albany, New York. His professional record, 11, 9, and 1, 3 KOs to his credit. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Time Bomb Thomas. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with gold trim, weighing in at 169 pounds, fighting out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's undefeated with a record of 35-0-2, 24 KOs. He currently holds the IBF Super Middleweight Championship title, not on the line tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, a two-time world champion, James Lights Out Toney.
Good evening, gentlemen. You were both given your instructions. Both your touch gloves. Touch gloves. Touch gloves. Boxing don't start until you touch the glove.
So a little game being played there. Ricky Thomas and James Toney first not touching gloves. Frank Cappuccino was the winner, however.
It's not going to be another one of those. Tell me it's not going to be another one of those, Barry, please.
Well, as you said, Thomas is all business, but I'll tell you what, so is James Toney.
And you know, when you look at Toney at this weight, he looks pretty good. I mean, he said all along that this is the weight he should be at, and that at this weight he won't lose the stamina that he lost as a middleweight, and that he'll fight 3 minutes of every round, which people criticized him for not doing as a middleweight.
Comes out working the jab strongly. Well, he really made a believer out of me against Iran Barkley. I sat there and watched that fight together.
Sterling performance. I mean, that was about as good as it gets against a highly motivated and well-trained Iran Barkley.
Well, we talked about the fact that we were critical of him early, and the fight that made, I can speak for myself, that made me that way was the fight with Murphy Sosa, which I thought neither of them won.
Yeah, that was early on. That was just before he fought Michael Nunn, and who would have given him much of a chance against Nunn? And as you said, Nunn did well early. But since then, James Toney has continued to hone his skills. There's Thomas. Now, Thomas has a very good left hook, and you saw it there. That's his best punch. Mentioned that he had been 10 rounds with Lamar Parks, who's a very fine middleweight, one of the best in the world. And 10 rounds with Van Horn in a bout that almost everybody thought he won. Had a loss to South Africa that he thinks he won. So he stays in there with everybody. And you can see, when you look at Ricky Thomas, he's going to throw good shots at you.
It's a very good non-title fight for Toney, actually, because he's not in there with a guy who's going to fall down.
You were mentioning Julio Cesar Chavez. Jorge Paez also comes to mind during his championship reign. Fought often in championship and non-title fights.
Right hand by Toney and a left hand behind it. And we've also talked about the fact that oftentimes we see fighters who become better as champion than on their way up, and I think Toney is certainly indicative of that. Norris is another guy who comes to mind who's indicative of that.
Thomas using the jab here early. He's told us today, he said, I need to get my jab in because Toney's jab is so strong. To nullify it, I've got to land mine first. Toney digging to the body. Good defensive work by Thomas, though.
Nice right hand up over the top by Toney.
You look at Ricky Thomas, and you just know that What he really needs, career-wise for him, is to fight some guys that aren't absolute top middleweights and get himself some wins. But, of course, this is a very competitive match right here to see him in.
So we come to the end of the first round. Thomas held his own, but I don't know that he won the round. We'll be back.
James Toney getting Ricky Thomas to corner, measuring him and getting a pretty good right hand in. Well, it didn't land perfectly, but that's something to look for later. So you can see that Ricky Thomas has skills, good combinations, but Toney blocking virtually all those. And one of the areas in which James Toney has improved is in defense. There you see the numbers in round one.
60 of those 71 punches thrown by Toney, incidentally, were jabs.
You know, if you throw double left hooks like Ricky Thomas just threw, against 90% of the guys, you're going to land both those punches. He didn't land either of them against Toney. Those are good, quick punches.
Toney's just improved in every aspect of the game. His defense is considerably better, although he's always a pretty good defensive fighter. His jab is just terrific. You saw that snapping left jab.
Strong jab by James Toney. You know, as a middleweight, he had such trouble, he says, because of the weight loss. But in so many of his championship fights, what people will remember is how tough it was on him. Against Nunn, he had to come back to win. Against Reggie Johnson, he was decked in the second round, won by a split decision, and had to win the last 3 rounds to win the bout. And he won the last 3 rounds on 2 judges' scorecards to get a draw against McCallum, and the beat goes on. So he had some tough fights, but he came through all of them.
That jab of his is really a weapon. Just a moment ago, it actually caused Thomas to take a step back.
This is the kind of defense that he showed against Iran Barkley. I mean, guys throwing good, quick punches at him, and he's slipping them as if they're nothing. The other thing James Toney's doing in this bout that he did against Barkley is he's not laying in on the inside. That was when he always used to look a little tentative, when he would lay in on the inside with guys and then just look like he's kind of taking breathers. Here he's staying on the outside, boxing.
And this not to detract from what Thomas is doing.
No, that's the point. I'm telling you, with the hand speed Ricky Thomas is showing here, he'd be hitting other guys. He's not hitting James Toney.
Well, you know, what strikes me just sitting here watching this is we see a lot of very good boxers here on Top Rank Boxing, and then there's about another 10 or 11 or 12 guys, however many, that are just a cut above. I mean, these are the guys who are the champions, who have been champions for a while. I equate that with doing a season of college basketball here on ESPN. And when college basketball is over, I'll go over and watch my local team, which is the Golden State Warriors, play. And pro basketball, the NBA, is a different game. It's a different sport. Well, such is the case here. The champion against a very good challenger. We'll be back.
It went from 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. It won Daytona, Sebring, Le Mans, then the World Championship. Ford stopped making Cobras in 1967, but you can make one today. Call FiberFab at 1-800-328-5671. You'll be turning heads even faster than a Cobra turns corners.
We make so much more than our parents ever did. And they bought a house.
Here was a move that they worked on Ricky Thomas. When Toney turns this way, they want to throw left hook to the body and land the right hand to the back of the head. No, he misses. Couldn't do the maneuver they talked about today to us, Barry, where he would throw the left hook to the body and then move to his right and land the right hand to the head of Toney. He didn't move to his right because it's so unnatural to do that.
Yeah, and it goes, of course, contrary to what everybody else has tried to do with Toney.
Yeah, when Toney does that, there you look at the jabs in the bout, and Toney's doing better. When Toney does that, your natural inclination is to take a step to the left and trying to hit him with the hook. They want to throw the hook but take a step to the right and hit him in the head. It's hard to do that.
That was a left hand by Thomas that got there.
He's got an excellent left hook. That is his best punch. Thomas would not block both those double left hooks. Toney did. You're supposed to land one of those 2 punches when you throw a double left hook. Something should be open, but it wasn't.
It's really a lesson that Toney is administering here, both offensively and defensively.
And look at the activity of Ricky Thomas. He's throwing jabs, he's throwing hooks. They're all good punches, good straight right hands. He is doing nothing that should lead you to believe that he wouldn't be effective in there, but he's not effective.
Yeah, there's nothing to criticize what Ricky Thomas is doing. We said he came here to fight. He's fighting.
3-punch combination, and only the hook to the body lands for Thomas.
And in Toney's corner between rounds, they told him slow up a little bit. Oh, good uppercut by Toney.
Smiles at him, he still ain't got it. Now, Ricky Thomas is being strong. Every time Thomas throws the hook, the short right hand is there from Toney.
This really is a clinic right now.
It really is. You know what's interesting? Thomas has thrown so many punches, he might end up winning this round in some judges' scorecards because they may not feel that Toney has blocked everything. Yet Toney has probably been the sharper puncher.
So we come to the end of the 3rd round. Hard for me to see it going any other way but the way of Toney.
One of these engines was filled with Castrol Syntec, a synthetic oil, the rest with conventional oils. They were...
Barry Tompkins, Al Bernstein, back at the Fernwood Resort in Bushkill, Pennsylvania. A reminder, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific, the Pirates and the Dodgers. Andy Van Slyke, Darryl Strawberry will get it on right here on ESPN. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, Sunday Night Baseball, exclusively on ESPN.
James Toney's defense has been superb. Blocking, done a lot of slipping throughout this bout also, slipping punches. And you know, now here is where, as we headed around for the punch profile, shows you something. Didn't you think, I did, that Thomas threw a lot more punches than him in the last round? Guess what? Only 2 more punches thrown by Thomas in the last round. Perception is something, but yet the facts are another thing.
Toney starts this round trying to use the body, and look at the totals through 3 rounds.
Look at that. Toney has thrown more punches, and I have to say, Thomas has seemed busier, hasn't he? And yet, no, not the case.
Come on, don't screw around. Take it to school, Toney.
Quick right hand.
Excellent double left hook by James Toney. James Toney's a different fighter. There's my scorecard. Most fighters, when they say, gee, I can't keep the weight and it's made me weak, you tend to wonder about him. Not with James Toney. His best days are ahead of him at 168, and he says maybe 175 pounds is the light heavyweight. But I assure you at this weight, at 168, he'll be about 50% better than he was as a middleweight.
I can see him going to 175.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of body. Looks like he can carry it.
He wanted to fight Prince Charles Williams. Williams went off and got beat by Henry Mask. I guess he can go fight Henry Mask.
That's right.
He's got a lot of things ahead of him, as he pointed out in that feature. Let it go! And it was a crapshoot. They rolled the dice and said, let's have him fight a lot as a middleweight, hope he can make it through it, and then when we go up to super middleweight, they'll have to come to us. We'll be the guy they need, and that's exactly what happened. And I'll tell you, somebody like Roy Jones, I know everybody thinks of him as the second coming. He needs James Toney more than James Toney needs Roy Jones for a big match.
James Toney wants him, though, so yeah, not have trouble making that match.
No, not at all. Is there anybody Toney won't fight?
No, and you got to admire that.
Yes. Ricky Thomas still throwing pretty good combinations, but most of them are just not getting there. It's really rugged when you're in there against the guy who's hand speed. And Ricky Thomas is a quick-handed fighter, but Toney is just as quick, if not quicker, and more powerful.
Thomas continues to try. He's not just showing up. There's a great uppercut by Toney.
Yeah, he's doing more than trying. He's throwing hellacious combinations that are doing nothing in most cases. Instead, he's getting hit with counter punches.
Go into James Toney's corner. We always talk about corners and the work that's done between rounds, and calm corners always seem to work best. Listen to Bill Miller.
The middle now is going to begin to work for you. And when you rip that shot through the middle, back with the left hook, continue to keep jabbing because he don't like jabs. But continue to keep that jab because as long as you're jabbing, you break up any rhythm that it's got.
That's the way it's supposed to be done.
That's good corner work, folks. Here's the uppercut by James Toney. Oh, my. Give Ricky Thomas credit. Look at him. That didn't budge him an inch.
No, Ricky Thomas is really doing nothing wrong. You know, it's just the old thing that a Pinto's not going to win a Kentucky Derby.
And there's the right hand that we see from above. And that's a very apt analogy. Your second horse reference.
That's true. Oh, yeah,
today.
That's right.
And none of them about my horse.
No, Bob.
Bob, yes. By the way, you know what? This weekend, there's the Ben Johnson Pro Celebrity Rodeo in Phoenix is being held.
Is that this week?
Yeah, I'm not there, of course. I'm here doing boxing. But people should go out there. It's for a good cause.
I want Toney to work the jab here. Let's see if he does that.
He's as good a body puncher as you're going to find in the sport. He is just an excellent body puncher. Isn't there an amazing difference between him now than when he fought in those middleweight fights where he would fight in quick spurts then stop?
Right hook. Thomas is still there. That's a hook that puts almost everyone down. Thomas comes right back.
You know what this fight is making me want? This is going to sound strange, probably. This fight makes me want to see Ricky Thomas against somebody not as good as James Toney, and it'll make the most exciting fight you'll ever see in your life. And Ron Katz, the matchmaker, sitting right next to us, and I'm lobbying with him right now that even if Ricky Thomas doesn't come through this fight, Toney with a win, which is possible he might not, let's see him against a guy that he has a good shot at beating.
Meantime, the clinic continues here. Toney says to Thomas, come on.
Toney, you know, the other thing about Toney that gets lost in the shuffle somewhere is his counter-punching ability. Excellent counter-puncher. That is part of what's giving Thomas problems in this match.
There was a good right hand. That might have gotten Thomas's attention. The left hand, beg your pardon. Thomas continues to fight back.
You know, it is interesting. He's showing these nice combinations, just as he did against Darren Van Horn and Lamar Parks and these other good fighters that he fought. And it's doing even less for him here against James Toney.
And that time, Toney with a crafty move just spun him and hit him.
Another big name that he fought that he lost in 10, he really felt he beat him, was Davey Hilton. He lost to him in Canada, so to give you a clue. Davey Hilton, of course, from Canada.
Thomas, for the first time, takes a backward step. Another good round for James Toney.
I feel Danorex tingling on this side, nothing on the head and shoulder side. I love that tingle, so I tried Danorex for my dandruff. It really came through. The flaking stopped, my scalp doesn't itch.
Danorex with conditioners, the serious dandruff shampoo.
I've switched to Danorex.
America's first choice. Napa Auto Parts.
Welcome to Napa, America's most complete source for quality auto parts and accessories. And now get hot spring buys at Napa. Quality Napa motor oil, 99 cents a quart. Get 2 Silverline oil filters, just $4. Champion resistor spark plugs, 79 cents each after mail-in rebate. And Napa's lawn and garden battery, only $19.95. Save big on hot spring buys now at Napa, America's first choice.
A twin blade from Bic?
What's in it for me? This is new?
A twin for normal skin and a twin for sensitive, right?
It was good. The new Bic Twin Select.
Made a big man out of me.
Well, it's as if James Toney knows what's coming from Ricky Thomas. Everything is either blocked or slipped. Of course, remember what Mickey Mantle said about Sandy Koufax in the 62 World Series? He said, if I had known a curveball was coming from Koufax, I still wouldn't have hit it. In this case, if Toney didn't know, he's going to definitely slip the punch.
The numbers in the 5th round, and Toney again just in complete control. Thomas, incidentally, only landed 1 of 33 power shots that he threw, and that speaks to exactly what you were talking about.
And the punches he threw, were not wild, crazy punches. Now James Toney is throwing, and you made the point, Barry, in the last round. For the first time, Ricky Thomas seemed like he was affected by the power of Toney. Look at this.
Boy, those are some great shots. Those are just great shots.
Even the ones that are blocked, after that comes a left hook to the body that you don't block. Beautiful 5-punch combination. One got there for Ricky Thomas. By the way, Ron Katz has assured me we are going to see Ricky Thomas again in a bout in which it's going to be on pretty equal terms. He's got a good chance to win or put on a great show for us.
And Ron's also going to make Lou Savaris and Hulk Hogan.
Or is it the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
And pulling him in like that is the first sign of frustration you see in Ricky Thomas. And you know, James Toney, in talking to us today, he had a lot of respect for Thomas. He said, this is not a bad fighter I'm fighting. He said, I saw him fight Lamar Parks. I saw him beat Darren Van Horn. He said he definitely beat Van Horn. He felt that Thomas won that fight. He said, so I know I'm not in there against some pussycat. And I'll tell you what, he's in very good shape, James Toney. Even though he's slightly over the 168-pound limit.
Yeah, he was 170 today. He was absolutely right. His assessment of Thomas.
You know, they talked today about whether maybe Toney would come into this bout less than motivated. This is the camp for Ricky Thomas, and they might catch him on an off day. They didn't.
No. I think off days for him may be a memory.
I believe so. And I think a lot of it has to do with the weight. At 168, he can make this weight.
An uppercut. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Best punch of the fight by Toney. End of round 6. We'll be back.
I got a new taste that's pure delight. New Brinker sour cream and onion light. That's right. Rich sour cream and tangy onion.
Barry Tompkins with Al Bernstein back at the Fernwood Resort here in the Poconos. We're in Bushkill, Pennsylvania. Next week, actually, I'll be in Monte Carlo doing tennis. You'll be doing a little boxing out in Las Vegas. Roger Mayweather and Zach Padilla. It's a good fight. Really, I wish I could be there. I like Padilla a lot. And I think he's going to give Roger Mayweather a lot.
Could be a very, very difficult fight for him. And it's at 9 o'clock Pacific, our own version of Midnight Madness on the East Coast. This uppercut, wow. Oh, my. And followed by a superb right hand. They've been very nice here to us here at the Fernwood Resort. And we've enjoyed our stay.
I expect we'll be coming back. Through 6 rounds, and you see the edge now that Toney has built up. 30 punch landed edge. There's the uppercut again.
You feel the power of Toney taking over.
Take a step over! Come on, Toney! He just wants to be, baby. Give it to him.
frustrating for Ricky Thomas right now because his technique is still there, believe it or not, after getting nailed with these big shots. But as Bill Miller told Toney, and he's listening to him, the jab will disrupt everything Ricky Thomas is doing. And Thomas wanted to get his own jab in against James Toney. Couldn't quite, has not been able to do it.
Can't beat him, James Toney is really a marvel at this weight.
Yeah, moving up in weight, but not losing anything. In fact, gaining in a way because he doesn't feel weak, so he's throwing quicker.
No, he is. He's much more up-tempo and has been from the opening bell.
Now, the Darren Van Horn defense is a mandatory defense, and in truth, that's going to be a very tough fight for Darren Van Horn against James Toney. He got whacked off by Iran Barkley, but it's a mandatory, and they have to do it, so Toney will do it. But after that, it's blue sky all the way. You got Nigel Benn, or Eubanks, just Eubanks, whoever wins that. Michael Nunn is certainly a possibility. Now Nunn, also a super middleweight champion of another organization. Of course, eventually Roy Jones.
A lot of fights out there for James Toney.
And you know, he dislikes the perception that somehow Roy Jones is a Superman to him. As you pointed out to us, he does not feel that he would go into that Roy Jones fight as an underdog.
I think it would be a competitive fight, too.
I think it would be an outstanding fight. I have a lot of respect for Roy Jones' punching power. Oh, look at the combinations by James Toney. See, and Ricky Thomas can't do what they want him to do. He's trying to. He's trying to step to his right and land that right hand as Toney bends down with his shoulder. Toney is simply too quick for him to execute that move.
So Toney continues to take Ricky Thomas to school in what has been a flawless performance so far. And around 7.
George Foreman, an American institution. Tommy Morrison, the up-and-coming slugger from the nation's heartland. Two symbols of the American spirit, headed for a collision. This is going to be a star-spangled battle. Catch the fireworks as the two heaviest hitters in boxing clash head-on for the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Monday, June 7th, live on pay-per-view. Call now to order.
All the excitement of great high school players, they're going to be getting down, slam dunks, passing. I'm going to have a ball because I'm going to be coaching. The Magic Round Ball Classic, yeah.
NASCAR excitement on ESPN. Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt are engaged in an early season points battle. The stage is set. The races are ready for the First Union 400. Tomorrow afternoon, live on ESPN.
James Toney landing everything, including this uppercut on the inside against, and then he follows with the hooks. It's not just the uppercut, but here comes a punch right after it. Barry, I have to tell you, the 7 rounds he fought here and the 8.5 he fought against Iran Barkley, I think are the best rounds of boxing James Toney has fought, period, as a pro, by far.
Hard to argue that. I mean, as you said, we watched that fight together. He didn't lose a round in that fight, and I don't think he's lost a round in this fight.
It's the way he's not losing.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just really astonishing. And there's the jabs, showing you how Toney has won the battle of the jabs. And Ricky Thomas has made an effort throwing over 200 jabs. Now, here's what Ricky Thomas is doing now, and I don't think it's a bad idea. Trying to give Toney a lot of movement. Maybe this will get Toney out of his rhythm, and he can land punches from a different angle. It's not a bad idea. Nothing else has worked for Ricky Thomas.
Of course, a shutout. I mean, you just can't see it any other way. And again, it's not to detract from what Thomas has tried to do.
Well, if he should lose this match, and Ricky Thomas is on his way to doing it, it would be his 5th straight loss. He lost to Brian Bannon in 6. He lost to Darren Van Horn in 10. Lamar Parks in 10. Johnson Suma in Johannesburg, South Africa in 10. At least 3 of those fights he feels he won. But shame, it's not indicative of what he's up to.
The crowd suddenly turns away from the ring. There's activity going on away from the ring.
Oh, why not? We had everything else here tonight, so it's been a very, very bizarre evening in many respects.
And continues so. other people is enlisting Larry Holmes' help.
I would if I was there.
Larry doesn't do that without being paid.
No. Well, wait, he did with Trevor Burbick one time.
That's true, yeah.
James Toney is just having his way, continues to be able to do pretty much what he wants. Leads Lou Savarese and Nathaniel Finch going at it again.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Toney driving Thomas back with the left hand. And there's a huge right hand. And a left hand again. There was a counter left by Toney. And Toney just, there's just nothing you could say that hasn't already been said. Brilliant performance.
Taking a break, are you?
No break.
Oh, you smell good.
Well, thank you.
Wearing something?
Just my deodorant.
Oh, that Suave Super Stick I got you.
Yeah.
You like the Suave, huh?
Yeah.
Good. It costs less than your other ones.
Yeah, well, I think it works really well. Don't you think so? You're supposed to be paying attention to me right now.
How many women tell their husbands they smell good while they're cleaning out the garage?
Just one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Super Stick. When Suave works this well, why spend more?
Where in the world can you find hot days, hotter nights, romance under the sun, romance under the moonlight, sports all day, sports all night, superstars enjoying the day, superstars filling up the night, and action day and night, day and night. Only in Las Vegas.
James Toney throwing excellent combinations, good, short, sharp, crisp punches, and Ricky Thomas, they told him very pointedly in the corner, get off the rope, but that is the least of his problems. I don't think he's been on the ropes that much in his bout, but when he does get there, yeah, James Toney will do a job of it.
He's done a job in the center of the ring, too. It is hard to imagine, though, that despite the fact that Thomas has fought very good fighters, that he's lost his last 5. Because he definitely has skills.
Yeah, he should have somewhere in there, but then he feels like he did get a win somewhere in there. Everybody, I guess, apparently felt that he beat Darren Van Horn. He felt he won in South Africa, but didn't get the decision. And he's obviously not the kind of boxer who's going to knock a lot of people out. He's not a huge power puncher.
A triple jab. Counter left. Left hand and a straight right. Right uppercut.
You know what's astonishing to me? That with all that's happened here in the 9th round, that Ricky Thomas is managing to still throw punches and throw them in a way that is appropriate. Good technique.
They're not defensive punches.
And now they're getting a little wider, but it's getting nailed a little bit even more, but still.
Watch that head, Ricky.
Jab, straight right hand.
You can see all the moves are there. Toney doesn't just land the right. He takes a step to his left to put himself in a better position to throw the hook. These are instinctive moves. To give Bill Miller a lot of credit, his trainer. Of course, James Toney for being able to assimilate him.
And like all the great ones, too, he brings the right hand behind the jab so quickly that his man doesn't have time to recover from the jab.
And I have to tell you something. This has not always been so with him. That's why I'm very willing to accept his explanation that getting down the middleweight made him a lesser fighter. Because as a 68-pounder, in his 3 fights, he has looked infinitely better than he ever did as a middleweight. And he's good as a middleweight because he was good enough to win a championship and hang on to it for a couple of years. He's serving notice to people that are going to face him at this weight that they're going to see a different guy.
Mary hurt Thomas, and Thomas goes down for the left hand at the bell. Can't be saved by the bell, though, and he does get up.
Come on, wake up. Put it over here. Look out. Come on, you gotta go the distance. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Come on now. Ready? Come on now. Ricky. Get wild. Hold on. Ricky.
Here's James Toney finally really getting to Ricky Thomas. Boy, that right hand could have done it, but it was the hook instead that really rocked him. And considering all that's happened to Ricky Thomas, we can't fault him for finally going down. That left hook, the one that really hurt him.
And in the corner of James Toney, business as usual. In the corner of Ricky Thomas, now it has just turned to not that we can beat this guy, but just let's go the full 10.
Yeah, they feel like that's important for them in terms of his future, but I think what would be more important for his future is not to get hurt in this bout. And if he was going to get knocked down again or hurt again, I would really opt for stopping this bout. Take a look at the numbers, because there's just no way he's going to win it on decision.
Frank Cappuccino's going to take a very close look at it, too. I don't think he'll go too far with Ricky Thomas. I'm sure he'd like to give the man the chance to finish, but...
One thing, I'm sure he has earned the respect of James Toney with his performance today.
Uppercut drives him into the ropes again. It's not going to go far here. And that's it. Frank Cappuccino stops it. Fight's well stopped. Crowd boos. There's no reason to boo. It was absolutely the right thing to do.
I understand why Ricky Thomas is maybe a little distressed. He feels like he could have gone. He probably could have gone on. But I'm going to tell you something. If Ricky Thomas hasn't earned respect with his performance to this point, another minute and a half isn't going to do it. And you give that man respect. He performed well, but he was starting to get hurt. And you could see James Toney, a lot of respect. A lot of respect for Ricky Thomas. And Jackie Callan holding Thomas's hand up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And this is the side of James Toney. I want to point this out. A lot of people think of James Toney, and let's take a look at where the fight ended. They think of James Toney as an arrogant guy, and he's shown that side of him sometimes, and has not always been the most pleasant guy to be around before fights. But I got to tell you something. Today, as we both saw, he has shown us a side of him that is a delightful, pleasant, humorous side, and I think if he shows more of that as he goes on in his championship reign as a super middleweight, he'll become even more marketable as a champion.
I think that's very true. He's doing himself a whole lot of favors in the last couple of years. And a terrific performance for him tonight.
Couldn't be better.
Let's get up to the center of the ring now, and we'll get the official word from Michael Buff.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Frank Cappuccino steps in and stops the bout at 51 seconds of round number 10. The winner by TKO victory. His record now 36-0, 2 draws, 25 KOs. Two-time world champion, current IBF super middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
James Toney doing everything that was advertised and perhaps a little bit more, as Toney wins every round and finally gets his man out in 9. Back to talk with the champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round
after this? Let's get you up to center of the ring with Al Bernstein.
Well, thank you, Barry. Jackie Callan here with James Toney, who just won. And I told James I thought it was a spectacular performance, but you didn't think it was spectacular, did you?
It was all right. You know, I could have did a little bit better. You know, I had 3 weeks to prepare for the fight, and hey, I did what I had to do. I got him out of there. I did something that nobody else could do.
I'll tell you what, I'm buying into the fact that at 168, you feel a lot more comfortable than at 160. When fighters say that, sometimes it feels like an excuse. In your case, you're about a 50% better fighter at this weight.
Well, I never do make excuses. If you know, like I said, everybody thought I was faking about the weight. But, you know, the weight was killing me at 160. Now I'm at a much comfortable weight at 168, and I feel better at 175. I can't wait.
The other thing about you, and I got to say this, you feel more jovial, you feel looser to me. You feel almost like you're allowing your personality to come through. A lot of people thought of you as arrogant before, and a lot of people had a hard time with that. But it feels to me like you're just more relaxed with everything.
I'm relaxed with everything, you know. I'm at peace with myself now. I'm fighting in a better weight class. I know I'm the best fighter right now out there. Can't nobody out there beat me. That includes Roy Jones, Julian Jackson, whoever. I'm ready to fight anybody. I'm the best one out there. I'm ready to prove against anybody.
Well, it's still confident in that case, not arrogant.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm the best.
Okay.
The best.
All right, let's take a look at the knockdown. And you got to admit, Ricky Thomas fought a pretty tough fight against you
he
tonight.
came in and he fought. He tried to stay in there. Like I said, I wasn't as sharp as I should have been tonight, but I did the job.
Well, there's the left hook that hurt him toward the end of the fight. You had hit him with some terrific uppercuts, but ironically, it was the left hook that finally hurt him.
Yeah, I had to set him up. I set him up, with the jabs, hooks to the bottom of the head. He was coming up pretty good, because he didn't want to get hit with these vicious shots I was throwing at him, but then I finally got through, and boom, there he goes.
I thought your defense, James, was special tonight because he's a quick-handed fighter, and he's throwing not just one punch, but combinations, and yet still wasn't hitting you.
Well, that's my pride right now, my defense. I'm able to do everything. I can crouch. I can do everything a small man can do it at this weight.
Okay, Jackie Cowan, let me ask you now. We touched on this a little bit before the fight, but there's so many opportunities open to James Toney. What do you see next for him after the Van Horn fight?
Well, hopefully the winner of Nigel Benn and Chris Eubanks will take none again. We'll take Roy Jones. We'll take anybody. I'd put my fight around with anybody in the world. I don't care.
The best.
He should have fights
anybody. With Riddick Bowe.
Well, that might be a little extreme.
Riddick
Bowe?
Make the match.
Right, James Toney.
Hey, well, my man, don't say all the time. My boys back it on.
Did I say lacks confidence? I don't think so anymore. We will be back in just a moment or two to wrap things up. James Toney enjoying his win. Why not?
Hey, thanks.